What you saw are protests against lockdowns. They began last week. People hit the streets violating lockdowns in their respective countries. More than 3 billion people are staying at home, half the world's population. This may or may not work, but it seems like the best option right now. Governments have only one reliable tool to fight this: a lockdown. So why are people protesting? Is this defiance for the right to get infected? Believe it or not, some protesters have cited this. My body, my choice, that's what they say. Some others are just cynical. They do not see the threat that is staring them in the face, even after more than 170,000 deaths. They're not taking this seriously. And still others just want to go back to work. They're afraid of losing their jobs. So they are willing to gamble with their lives. For them, the choice is between life and livelihood, and that isn't really a choice. They must have both to survive, and that can be said of a lot of people. And that's where leadership comes in. In India, for instance, the Prime Minister has made it very clear: put human lives above the economy. In some countries, that's not the case. America and Brazil, for instance. Here, presidents are driving the anti-lockdown protests. Donald Trump of America and Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil. Let's start with the US president. Trump believes that the lockdown measures are harsh. The stay-at-home measures are perhaps the only cure right now. But Donald Trump says the cure is, quote-unquote, worse than the problem. So he's supporting the protesters.
No, these are people expressing their views. I see where they are and I see the way they're working. They seem to be very responsible people to me. But it's, they've been treated a little bit rough.
After Trump's comments, more people hit the streets. There were protests in more than a dozen states. The protesters quote Trump: "The cure cannot be worse than the disease," they say. They fear running out of cash. The pushback has forced some states to rethink their lockdown. These lockdowns have been imposed by different states in the US, and now the state governments might offer some concessions. In Brazil, the story is no different. It's become a choice between saving lives and saving the economy. And driving this divide is the Brazilian president himself, Jair Bolsonaro. He joined an anti-lockdown protest rally. There were no face masks, there were no gloves, and President Bolsonaro repeatedly coughed into a crowd of protesters. The Brazilian president is living in denial. In Brazil, more than 2,000 people have died. But President Bolsonaro is putting the economy first. The crowd there practically endorsed dictatorship. It called for military intervention. The people there demanded the closure of the Supreme Court and the Congress. While Bolsonaro said nothing about these demands, he did tell the crowd that he is with them. Next, we have Russia. There was a big rally yesterday. Around 500 demonstrators gathered in a southern city. They were protesting against job losses and lack of information about the coronavirus outbreak. Thankfully, Russian lawmakers are not endorsing the protest yet. The local officials were seen asking the protesters to disperse. Yes, these are challenging times. The world is staring at a recession. Job losses are a reality. The economic impact of the coronavirus has been devastating. The choice right now is between saving lives and saving jobs. Leaders putting the economy first are putting lives at risk. Instead of reassuring people, they're stoking their fears. It's both unfortunate and unacceptable.